Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, back for another NASCAR Heat 4 video, and we're going to start a new series, and it's going to be a championship mode series in the Cup Series. We're only going to do the playoffs, and I want to do Chasing 8 and try and get Jimmie Johnson that 8th championship just before he retires. It wasn't the greatest 2019 season for him, so maybe we can turn that around a little bit. But that's what we're going to take. This is a look at the playoff standings. You can see who's in, who's out. Ryan Preece, surprisingly, has made the playoffs. And it's an interesting look at who's on the cutoff line. Kevin Harvick and William Byron down here along with us, who's sitting last. So that's a look at the playoff standings. As far as the settings we're going to use, we are going to run 105 difficulty and turn it on car identifiers just so we can see, you know, who's hot and who's cold and who's in the playoffs currently. 50% race length. Want to make this a decent race. Multiple stages. I don't want to run 100 because I think that's going to make the video too long. It's going to be kind of long as it is. We're going to run normal draft settings. And here we are with the fuel consumption and tire wear. Now this is something that's going to change. And the reason is, and along with competition mode, is the reason I had run that for this whole practice session that you're going to see, which I actually ran quite a bit of practice. I didn't really intend on running that much, but I don't want to use setups that I find online. I want to try and do this on my own. I'm not the greatest at setting cars up, so kind of going to be a learning experience. So you're going to be seeing some practice footage, but the reason I'm not going to run competition mode is because, again, I don't know what it does and what settings it's blacking out. And what ends up happening, I actually had done this practice, and I went and tried to run the race, and my right rear tire was just burning up way too quick. And you can say that's down to a setup thing, but the AI had next to no tire wear at all. And I know that people had been talking that was a thing. The AI, they didn't seem in championship mode, were having tire wear issues, so that's something we're going to adjust. This is 26 laps into practice. Like I say, I didn't really intend on running this much, but I wanted to try and get a good grasp on the setup before qualifying. And a huge moment here as one of the championship contenders, Kevin Harvick, loses it all on his own in turn 3, and it looks like there's a lot of smoke coming out of that car. So here we are. We're third quickest. We have a pretty good car. This is before qualifying is where I go in here, and these are the settings that we're actually going to run. At least for this first race. We might adjust this maybe for Richmond, because that's the second race here. And basically we're just going to make our tire have a little more grip and their fall off be a little quicker. And that seemed to me to kind of balance things out for the race. And make this a little more fair, because prior to that, when I tried to run this after about 20 laps, the car was just absolutely undrivable. I'm talking like an eighth of the throttle input, and I'm just wrecking off the corner. So that's the settings that we're going to run, and now it looks like we're going to jump on into qualifying here. Now, as far as making an actual qualifying setup, I had found that my race setup was kind of loose, and I didn't really want to run that the whole race. So I copied that over to my qualifying setup, and I was sort of adjusting on that, and the more I adjusted on it through practice, the faster my actual race setup was in the qualifying one. So I said, screw this, I'm just going to run my regular race setup here in qualifying, and then just tighten it up a little bit at the end. And I actually got a little tight here off at 4, and it sort of cost me some time, I think. Down on the apron, the car does handle pretty good. And we got a pretty respectable qualifying slot here. We're starting in the top 10, so that's a great way to start the playoffs here, if we can kind of carry that momentum throughout the race. Here's a look at who's qualifying where, trying to see where some of these playoff drivers are sitting. Ryan Blaney down at 18th, along with Ryan Preece at 20th. We don't really expect a whole lot out of him. But our teammate William Byron way back in 29th, so he's going to have a lot of work to do to try and get his way to the front here for the race. So with that said, let's jump on into the race. Alright, as they would say in F1, the lights out and away we go. Green flag is out, and starting 10th, you know, honestly, I didn't even really know what to expect here because I was not in traffic a whole lot. Well, I wasn't in traffic at all in practice. The most I had around me was one car, and that was really it, going around somebody, or I did have a little bit of a back and forth with Harvick. But as we're 3 wide here going into turn 3, I did not know what to expect, and I overdrive turn 3 and 4 here. Luckily, Truex keeps it pretty clean here as we got another car to our inside. But yeah, I did not have a whole lot of experience here in traffic with this car, so I wasn't entirely sure what to expect. But the car is really loose right off the bat, much looser than it was in qualifying and in practice. So, you know, that's something that we're going to battle here throughout this first stage, unfortunately, until we can get to a stage break or have a caution or something and get a pit stop, hopefully, and get this car tightened up. And you can see how loose it is on the bottom below Erik Jones. But this group is staying pretty tight. I'm pretty impressed. You know, we're not running high draft settings. We're running the normal draft settings, and there's a lot of on-throttle time here at Vegas than there used to be, much more than I'm used to. And here we go with a pretty risky move again, 3 wide. I don't know why Tyler Reddick is always up front in these races, it seems. Even in a quick race, it seems that Tyler Reddick's always there. And a big moment here as we almost get into Joey Logano. We're still 3 wide here with Erik Jones just peeking at the back, and there's contact now. Very difficult to keep this car in a straight line. And I believe Tyler Reddick's going to hang on to it. Let's take another look at that. Definitely my fault. Being 3 wide, I came down and just made a little bit of contact on Tyler Reddick's right front and just got him sideways. So luckily he's able to recover. And as we fast forward a little bit now, Joey Logano's finally, we started to kind of settle in, but Joey Logano's caught us and gone around us at this point, and Erik Jones is hoping to pick up what Joey Logano's played down as he looks to the bottom. The car again is just slowly loosening up even more as this run goes on, which is not good because this car was loose as the race started. But typically with a night race, as the sun goes down, the track cools down, the car usually tightens up. So we've kind of got that in our favor. That's not always the case, but we're going to try and adjust to the racetrack as we give Logano a bit of a shot into turn 3. He gathers it up. No harm, no foul. Here we are a little bit further ahead, and this is something right here. As you can see, I clipped the apron. This is something that I've heard drivers complain about all season long, is knowing when to make that move and jump out of line. You could see I was tight against Logano. I make the move to the inside. Just a bit of another driver error, much like it was with Reddick, and now I'm in jeopardy of losing another spot to Erik Jones. So very on edge this car is right now, and you have to be extremely confident in the move you're going to make and the fact that it's going to stick, because if there's more cars back there, you know, easily could drop some more spots. As we get up into the outside wall now, another mistake. A little bit further ahead now in the race as we kind of click down some more laps. We're going to get by the 88. I wanted to sort of try and break up this first stage a little bit more. It's not a long stage. We're not going to be having to pit for fuel here as we get past the 18. A bit of contact. You can see how much this car is starting to loosen up now. On exit of the corner, I did not mean to run into him. And the car just, you know, that right rear, you can see how worn out it is. As we look out and into the outside wall and down into the infield here, we're going to try and gather it up. And a massive hit into the inside pit wall. And our car is seriously torn up now. Not what we needed. We're going to try and make the best of this. Instantly going to go try and tighten the race car up and take a lot of air pressure out of that right rear to try and make this more drivable as the run goes on. This is a great example of why I changed the settings. Imagine as much as that tire was worn, magnified times 4 is as bad as it was. So here we are on the restart. We've lost 26 spots. We're 40th. We're 2 to go now. We're going to try and make up some ground. We know we have a good race car, so we're going to have to dice our way through the field here with these 2 laps, get as many spots as we can. We know we're not getting stage points now. We've lost out on that. That's a a huge disappointment, because we were definitely in contention to get stage points, which we're going to desperately need as these playoffs go on. So here we are now. We're going to make some moves, some risky moves. We got nothing to lose here at this point, and I actually get up into the outside wall, trying a little bit too hard. And again, we got to clean up the mistakes. Definitely something to learn from this race. Got to back it down just a little bit, clean up the mistakes, clean up the driving, and get a little bit more consistency with our driving and getting around cars cleanly. Setup is going to need a little more work, and next week should be very interesting as we go to Richmond. But now here we are 3 wide again through turns 3 and 4 as we come to the white flag this time. Huge run. We are just dicing this field up, and oh, there we go. I guess that was a white flag. 29th. So well, easy to lose track of time, I guess, when you're going by that many cars. So a good recovery, but you know, not really to anybody's surprise. I think I'm going to pit here. You know, maybe some people are questioning why I'm going to do that, but I want the freshest tires as I can get here. You know, I'm only going to lose 11 spots. Nobody else is going to come in because everybody did just pit. But the fresher tires I have, I know I can get through this field, and that's exactly what we're going to do here on this restart, is try and replicate exactly what we just did, but be a little bit more clean with it, not touch that outside wall, and not make any contact with anybody. And just try and keep the fenders on the car. That was a massive mistake out of turn 4. I actually can't believe I did that. Luckily, we're able to get the car fixed, which we probably shouldn't have been able to do. That probably should have been a DNF, but we'll take what we're given and go on with this as we get through turns 3 and 4 again, riding that top side. And I noticed that right here about this point in the race with that last restart, as how good this car is working the top lane the whole way around this racetrack. Now, here at Vegas, turns 3 and 4 is pretty well wide open. Turns 1 and 2, you have to let off just a little bit. But I find with this, man, the setup is just so good here along the top for some reason. And as we make that air pressure adjustment, it really, really made the car a lot better. And throughout this run, I think made the tire wear a lot better on that right rear. And we have a car that's allowing us to make moves as we've already caught up to a playoff driver, and that is Austin Dillon for the 27th position. And a bit of contact to Cody Ware with a huge, huge save through turns 1 and 2. Not intentional at all, just trying to get by this lap traffic because we're so much quicker than them, especially Cody Ware, who is a backmarker car, along with Joey Gase here. It's just a little bit too hot, got into his corner. We're kind of getting a little frustrated here trying to get by Joey Gase. We know we're quicker. You know, the AI doesn't typically run, well, the AI doesn't run at all down below the white line on the apron, which is something you see in real life here. And again, just like the Tyler Reddick incident, 3 wide into turn 1 and a little contact with the 43. And he gets sideways, luckily gathers it up. I'm sure he's not going to be too impressed with us. It's just, these cars are so hard to drive here when you're 3 wide. Just the slightest bit of contact, which is very easy to do. Like I say, the AI does not go below that white line, so even through the tri-oval is just as, you know, is just as nerve-wracking as it is through the corner here if you're 3 wide. And I think that's why it's so much easier to kind of to run into the right front and get them sideways through the corner, because you're just so used to arcing in for that corner and you think they're kind of going to be a little lower than they are. So as we continue to dice our way through the field, we've already caught our teammate who did start pretty deep in the field, and he's made up enough ground to get to 20th, but it's not going to be good enough. He's going to have to do a little bit better than that as we easily get by him on the outside. That car is just not handling at all, and by the looks of things, they just made the playoffs by inches. So a lap ahead now, we go to make a move on 2 playoff drivers, one of those being the 19 of Truex as we make a little contact, as well as Ryan Blaney. We're going to get 3 cars with 1 pass here as we go way down to the apron. Again, the AI doesn't really work down there, so going to try and use that to our advantage as much as possible. The car does get a little unstable through the tri-oval, I find, once that right rear tire wears out, but hopefully now that we've taken some air pressure out of it, it should make the handle a little better as the caution comes out. And this is huge. Let's be honest, this is a huge moment. We're good on restarts. and it doesn't look like any of the leaders are going to pit. Doesn't look like anybody's going to pit here. We're sitting in a pretty good spot. I'm not sure what happened. I see everybody from about, looks about 16th on back gained a spot. Regardless, we didn't pit. I did consider pitting there, but with nobody coming in, that's just, we gotta get some playoff points here. We didn't get any stage points at all the last restart because of a mistake. So we're gonna make up for it now. Good restart. We stay pretty even with the leaders as we go to the outside of Alex Bowman again, and we're really gonna be dicing through the field here as much as possible. I actually have to get off the throttle. We're so much quicker off the corner, so that is promising for sure, as Tyler Reddick is sort of parking the bus here on the apex, holding us up just a little bit. Nice and clean around the outside. I'm going to try and get a little side draft on the 14. The side draft does work in this game to slow down that car on the inside or the outside and drive it nice and deep into turns 1 and 2. This is, again, the spot on the track that the car is a little bit tighter. You have to let off a little more than 3 and 4, as we are wasting no time going 3 wide here in the middle. Car gets a little upset when we get a car on the inside and the outside. I find you can see it there as the front wiggled a little bit, but we're all clear on the outside now, and we have got our sights set on possibly a top 5 finish. And Harvick backs out of the middle line there as another 3 wide happens. Another thing I was having a little bit of difficulty with throughout this race is getting close to that outside safer barrier as we enter turn 1. I think I do scrape that a few times as the race progresses, and we are just on rails right now. I was really surprised at the handling of this car, that we were this good throughout this run, especially being late in the run. Not a lot of wear on the tires, but enough that you would think that it'd start to struggle a little bit on grip, but the car is just feeling really good, and it seems that we got a lot of speed, more so than we had before the accident. So that might have been a blessing in disguise, as we're working our teammate now. All these cars are playoff drivers, I believe, and the leader is Kurt Busch. That's what we got our sights set on, believe it or not, here at the end of this stage. Gonna look to his outside. I'm gonna go dive down to the bottom here. This is for the stage win. And, we got to get second as we make contact, and, oh my. Well, not exactly what I intended. Unfortunately, the AI control wasn't the best after a caution or a stage break, and I think a lot of people took damage from that, like ourselves. Only a second worth of repair, so not too bad. But we really used up our tires there as much as possible. But just looking through the field here, I guess it was Eric Jones that brought out that last caution. That sucks, because that's a playoff driver, so it's good for us. Sucks for him. But here we go. We got our pit stop done. We're going way to the back because everybody else is actually going to stay out. I was really surprised at that. I don't know why those guys didn't pit, especially at a stage break. I'm not sure. Like I say, their tire wear is a little bit more than mine, and mine were at high 80s, so I'm sort of surprised. I find the AI kind of pits depending on fuel more so than tire wear in this game, so it might have something to do with it. But regardless, that's going to make our job a lot easier on this restart, as we are just picking them off on the outside here. Unbelievable. Into the final stage now. We've got 2 stage winners so far, Kurt Busch and Chase Elliott, and hopefully we can make ourselves the 3rd stage winner and the race winner, as we are just making ground like crazy on the top side. Unbelievable how fast this car is, and it just magnified with all these cars staying out as we make contact with Daniel Hemrick, and he starts to go around because we're just so much quicker than everybody else. It's hard to stay off of him. He makes a huge save, and that's not what we need. Little contact with the outside wall. Like I say, I was really trying hard to get as many spots as I could. I had to kind of back it down a little bit and realize that I'm a lot quicker than these guys. I know I'm going to get around them regardless, so it's better to just take our time, get these guys cleanly, and keep all 4 corners of the car not damaged. Doesn't seem that damage really affects us a whole lot. I'm not sure why that is. I think that's something that needs to be worked on, and that was just impatience trying to get through the field. Not something that we want to do, but the car, I really liked the top line with this car. I found it was working really good. Typically, you got a little bit of a looser car. It's nice to run up top. You're not putting as much wheel into it necessarily, and it sort of hides as much of a handling issue you might have. But the car is handling really good, and the Highline, I think in general here is a quick way to get around this place. So we're already here, almost cracking the top 10, just after a few laps of green flag racing. Crazy how slow these guys are on old tires, and the caution is out again. Who the hell was that? Joey Gase is pitting, so I'm going to take a guess that was probably Joey Gase. At least it wasn't us this time. We're going to skip pitting again here. And I guess everyone else is as well. Again, that's crazy that these guys aren't coming in yet. I don't know why they're staying out. They're so much slower. But we just got to do it one more time, I guess. And we got really lucky here. 18 laps to go. We have got a legitimate shot at winning this first race in the playoffs, believe it or not. I think we have a really good chance at this one. Not at all what I expected out of this first race. I was honestly going to be happy coming out of this with a top 10 finish, but we've got a shot at this now as we're in the top 10. If we can get around this 10 or this 2, and we're going to go 3 wide again. Nice and tight on the outside, almost 4 wide for a second there as Eric Almirola backs out. But a good run for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., not somebody I expected to see up here in the top 10, as we give the 18 a little bit of a shot in the corner. But impressive nonetheless that this car is as fast as it is. I really surprised myself because, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm not that good at setups, especially when they're this in-depth. You know, and I say they're this in-depth. This isn't the most in-depth game ever with a setup, as we get to the outside wall, just trying to work around the 11. But yeah, it's never been something I've been that great at. Any game really, project cars or anything like that. If I fool around with something for an hour, I can usually get a little bit quicker. But I was really surprised the car was handling this good. As we ride the bumper of Kurt Busch now, teammates here. One that's in the playoffs, which is Kurt Busch. He's actually got quite a bit of damage from what went on there on that end of that last stage. Kind of crazy how they didn't pit at all even to try and fix that damage, and he's still up here running up front, that competitive. But I think maybe after this race I'm going to take the AI tire wear and just maybe put it so that their tires don't wear out as much, give them a little more grip. I don't know if that's going to make them faster or not. I do sort of feel like I might have a bit of an advantage over them right now, as we get around no problem Chase Elliott, and we are leading this race, believe it or not. We went from having the front end of this car caved in on the inside wall at the beginning of this race in the first stage, and with 14 to go, we are leading here at Las Vegas in the first playoff race. Absolutely unbelievable. I did not think this was going to happen. So fast forward ahead here, 6 laps to go, just trying to get through these last few laps. An absolute monstrous gap back to Denny Hamlin, who's made a move on Chase Elliott. I mean, those guys are just nowhere to be seen. The car still feels really good. Just getting ready to catch lap traffic here, as we were probably going to catch them before the end of this race. But just trying to take it easy, not overdo it, not overcook that right rear tire any more than we have to, as we come to take 5 to go this time. And just before the finish line, we have a caution. Not what I wanted to see, but none of these guys are going to pit. Again, these guys have not pit this third stage, and I don't understand this. You know, their tires they should be wearing it quicker than mine, and they are not coming in. So we're not coming in either. We're going to have to stay out here and try and hold these guys off for the win here at Las Vegas. They're always going to try and make it interesting. Maybe it was a NASCAR Phantom Debris caution. But regardless, the green flag is out, and we're going up through the gearbox to try and fend off our teammate, as well as Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano. But I don't anticipate we're going to have much of a fight on our hands, because this car is just absolutely on rails. As we take the white flag now, here at Las Vegas in the first playoff race, I am absolutely still shocked that we're not only leading this race, but leading here at the white flag with a pretty sizable lead. We didn't totally keep our nose out of trouble this race. 2.5 seconds on Chase Elliott, our teammate. As Denny Hamlin, who was running second before that caution's falling back. Got a little bit of right side damage on some worn tires, but Chasing 8 is going to stay alive here in the first playoff race because we are going to win here at Las Vegas. Absolutely unbelievable. And now I think it's time to do a little bit of celebration. Massive burnout across the start-finish line, and here's just a look at some of our race highlights. Again, not the cleanest race we've ever had. We really stowed the front end of the car in early on. Somehow able to recover. Definitely, realistically, should have been a DNF. Had a little bit of contact with Darrell Wallace. I think we got Daniel Hemrick and Tyler Reddick as well. Seems all the up-and-coming drivers we had issues with tonight. But a really solid race, a fairly solid race. I guess I shouldn't say a really solid race. We definitely executed the last stage and a half for sure, and you know, we're not going to have the pressure now for Richmond to make something happen. We're just going to have to try and collect stage points, and there's that second stage end. I guess that's why Kurt Busch had so much damage. Not the most realistic crash ever, but what a wild ride. He actually, I think his teammate hit him. I think Kyle Larson's the one that got into him. But really impressed with how this car was able to dice its way through the field. And I believe this must have been what got Joey Gase, or one of our last cautions. Oh, he actually takes Martin Truex with him. A little bit of contact from Truex as he goes upside down. That was a playoff driver. But this car was just so stuck to the track. I'm really impressed. I hope I haven't set the bar too high for myself with setup-wise. I don't know if I'm going to get this lucky at Richmond. But I guess it's not really going to matter. You can see the top 10. Pretty solid. Tyler Reddick still comes away with a 9th place finish after the incident with us. And there is our current playoff standings. William Byron just 1 point outside the cutoff line with Ryan Blaney. Both of those guys didn't really have the best day. Along with Truex is down there as well. Eric Jones, not the day he wanted as he had a retirement, and Ryan Preece didn't have a very good race either, I don't think. But still shocked that this car is in victory lane this early in this series. I hope you all enjoyed this series. It's something that I'm gonna have a lot of fun doing, I think, because this first race was fun. But next time we race this, I'm gonna take the AI tire wear and put that back down, and hopefully they'll be a little bit more competitive. I'm really not sure why they weren't pitting the end of this. I'm not sure. I'm confused because they were so slow compared to me. Regardless of the tire wear settings, they definitely should have been pitting. But that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching if you made it this far. And Chasing 8's still alive, so we'll see you in the next video at Richmond.